Welcome back, Stackers. Brian here, Stacking Stupid. Today I wanted to discuss a topic that's an extension of something that we already covered. I wanted to talk about the pay-to-win principle. And I know I talked about it very briefly when I was discussing wealth and equality of opportunity versus equality of outcome. Both on that touched on this. So I wanted to get a little bit more minuscule and talk about specifically pay to win, and I'm going to try and correlate it to some specifics. But before we get there, the real task I want people to do, the journey that I challenge you guys to do, is mentally think through how you think this affects like yourself, or I always like to say, would you teach your children to play like this or to develop these skills? And then if the answer is no, that's because you don't think it's good or optimal. And then if you extend that, well, this is what society is teaching you, your neighbors, and your children. So if you don't think it's good, then why is society teaching your children bad? And if you do think it's good, why? And chime into the conversation. And like I said, so the starting point is, if you believe that we should work towards equality of opportunity, then how does a pay-to-win scenario and system support that? I don't think it does, but maybe you're seeing something that I don't. And then if it doesn't, then why is our society shifting more and more and more towards that goal? And the answer is because of the profit. It generates more profit, but from that end goal and that target, it's not accomplishing what you want. Okay, so let me start with something simple like a cell phone, okay? And specifically, I'm talking about like a game on a cell phone. So you log into this game, and if you want that equality of opportunity, you and your friend should both have the same chance. Think, me and my friend Randy sit down and we play a game of chess, okay? And we both have the same rules and we both have the same advantages. And then it boils down to skill, knowledge, maybe a little bit of luck, or some of the other intangibles. Am I having a sharp day? Is he having a sharp day? Did I overlook something? That kind of thing. But the game itself is set up so that we are equals, okay, with a slight advantage going to white or black, in how you play. So then we play. And you see how it's the person that was optimized, not the rules of the game. So then let's go back to that cell phone game. So now you log in, and I'm new to a game, and I don't want to spend any money. I want a free-to-play game. Now there are some games out there that are free-to-play, and sure, that should be a part of this discussion, is that I could choose not to play your game. Fine. But my friend Randy really wants to play this game with me. Okay? So for this scenario, he's going to be the bad guy that spends all this money. He has a $200 a month budget, and I'm going to be the guy who wants to play for free. In addition, we want to understand that I enjoy playing the game and I want to play with my friend. So if I choose not to play your game, I'm giving up those things. Okay, so those are absolute motivational factors of why I would want to play your game. And if you did a good job in creating and designing your game, you should want people to play your game, not play your game. So the whole idea, well, you have a freedom of not to play it. Well, it's kind of, although true, it's not in the sense of, if you're doing a good job marketing and creating a worthwhile game, you don't want that to be the end goal, is for people to stop playing your game. Okay, so now pay to win. So you got a scenario A, I start off at level 1, I start off with no equipment, I start off with no gems. And then on the other side, oh, you paid and you put in $5 and you got the pass and that gave you better equipment. And then you paid this and you got a level 5 guy, a level 5-star guy. That's big in a lot of these games instead of a level 1 guy. And then because of that, you can do more quests and better quests and you can compete at a higher level. Okay, and then it's ongoing. There's another game, Magic the Gathering Online Arena, which I love playing the game Magic the Gathering. But once again, if you have the money to afford cards, you can play with cards that I don't have. That's not equality of opportunity. Okay? And why? Because you make more money when you allow people to buy their way to the front of the line. So let's pause for a second and let's say, how is this different than bribery? So if you look at what bribery is I'm going to give you money, which then you can transfer for whatever you want, for you to allow me to play by a different set of rules than you're holding everyone else accountable to. Okay? It could be a simple bribe, like front of the line. It could be, literally legitimately getting around the legal law, right on down the line. Bribe. If I give you, if you do X for me, I will give you X dollars. So this pay to win is a system of bribery, where if I give you X dollars, you will allow me to have a better guy, to have a better chance of winning, to get better rewards. Okay, so it's just bribery. Okay, or an extension of the concept, the same concept that is behind bribery, and that makes bribery wrong, which is the fact that you're circumventing the rules. So we didn't sit down at a chessboard and play with the same pieces. Instead, you had these pieces that I just either couldn't afford. That's part of the narrative here that should be discussed, is that maybe I want to pay money and it's just not right for my life. If I'm responsible, maybe it's not in my budget. If I'm irresponsible, maybe I don't make enough money. Okay, so it's just not available. And then on the other side, okay, just because I make more money, because I have a better budgetary scenario, or I am still irresponsible but have so much surplus, I don't care. Remember, the nugget that I want to talk about is the point of you have a game that plays by different rules. How is that healthy? How is that what our desired outcome, where we want people to play with equal opportunity, because that's what makes the play the difference. Okay, if you just buy your way to the front of the line, now you create two problems. One, you create it's a positive feedback loop with negative consequences, which is you think you earned your spot to the top of the list, but you didn't. Maybe a part of it, was your actions, because I don't think you could stay and maintain if you just suck. But if your guys and decks or rules are just better than mine, or treat you better than mine, like it had nothing to do with your skill, but in your mind, you're like, I'm the best at the game. Nothing to do with that, or had little to do with that. Okay, and each game's different. Okay, so then I also want to say, bring it back to that first point. Like, how do you think this is teaching your children or you to play with others? Okay, so it's no longer about an equality of game and rules. Okay, it's oh no, instead what I want to do is I want to find a way to get money, more money, and that part is good. Get more money, it's good. But you don't care how you get the money, okay? And then what are you going to do with that money? Well, you're going to find as many ways to bribe your way to the top in as many lines as possible, so that you can be better at everything. There's a component of that is good, which is money should you want to motivate the gathering of true value, which is we've talked about that in some capacity, about how the further money strays away from actual altruistic value, the more damaging it is, because it's not aligning your goals anymore, the goals of the society anymore. And I understand that's different for everybody, but society as a whole agrees, in a democratic society anyway, agrees as a whole the directions of which we want to go. Okay, so some other examples of this, let's go, And we talked through some of these, but we've talked about whether it be like job hunting, if you can pay to have a service of somebody create a better resume, or a headhunter, okay, if you can pay, then they'll find job placements, and that's an extension of the headhunting concept, okay, then you have a better chance of finding a good paying job and a dream job. And it's like, okay, well, we got to have this causal scenario where you understand that that's creating inequity and opportunity, and I think that's always going to be part of the scenario. So I'm not critiquing necessarily the inequality itself. I'm critiquing the fact that we ignore, flat out ignore, like it's just how the game is, that it's not in line with our objective. If we decide that our objective is to move closer to quality of opportunity, then why are all the systems and games not doing that? And why are we complicit in, well, I agree that's right, but you know what I'm going to do today? I'm going to pay out a bunch of money to get the outcome I want. Okay, well, and it's that misalignment of targets and goals, and understanding that you want to do something, but we've rewarded you for playing a different game and by different rules over here. So whenever possible, you're going to play by these rules so that you can get ahead. Well, guess what? That leads to some of these big problems. I use the phone as a starting point, but you see these microtransactions as an extension of the same thing. Some of it, like this is why, like, in the lawsuits that actually get to courts, they come back and they pretty much, the line they draw is cosmetics is fine, but if it affects gameplay, you're just exploiting your player base, and then they get hammered. Which I think is an interesting line to draw. But you see how it's very clear that the second it changes the rules of the game is where you're crossing a line. That's how our courts have seen it and decided. But the underlying principles are exploitation of that difference of opportunity to allow you to buy your trophy, to allow you to buy your victory, to allow you to buy a second set of rules that other people aren't playing by, which then gets you to the front of the line. And then you see this, it's everywhere. You see an extension in universities. If you have enough money, you can buy a better education. If you have a better education, I shouldn't have to explain how that could help you or your children. So then you go, it's about the money. That one's a little harder to differentiate, because if you're giving a better product, you should be able to charge, market demand for it. And that's absolutely true. But then you see that, secondary component, which is this is not aligning with our goal. If it is, your goal, which it is one of mine, which is to get closer to that equal opportunity, quality of opportunity. So, okay. And then you go, a little bit, so we see it in the job, marketplace. We see it in, what are the biggest things, in your life, and you see it all through it. So I want to bring it back full circle, and then we're going to end here, is that reality of what are the negative consequences to your psyche, to your development, to how you and your children and your progeny are approaching life when there's this dual message. Okay, it's not a unification of message. You teach your child that equality of opportunity is good, but then what your actions do and what you allow is absolutely not that at all. And we'll go back to that simplistic, maybe it's that Xbox they're playing, or that cell phone game where if they pay money, they win. Okay, well, what is the negative consequences of, you can say X, but then if you're doing Y, what are you actually teaching your child? And what is the next generation and the generation after that? How are they going to engage? What is that society going to look like? What are the repercussions of creating that movement, all for the sake of, it's profit. That part of it is true and accurate. That's why the companies are doing it. But the reality is because they're not holding themselves to the true cost, which is if you've just destroyed, damn me and my tangents. There's so much research right now that is coming out. It's kind of like budding. So I challenge you guys to go look to see if you can find some of it, and maybe you can find something contrary to what I've been exposed to, that is showing the correlation of marketing and how it affects young children, okay? Because the message and manipulation behind marketing campaigns is mostly bad. I'm oversimplifying. But it has very manipulative targets and goals. You know, why do you have a car commercial that's about family, not about the car? Because it was not about the car. It was about the manipulating your emotions, right, for a target desire. Okay, so then the effects that has, particularly on younger children, where they're still vulnerable. They haven't the defense mechanisms, but also the learning and scaffolding to understand how to segment and how to deal with that input, right? So okay, so if there's absolute factual proof that marketing can and does have a negative impact on your children, well, why are we exposing our children to that? I mean, because there's an absolute cost. Absolute. There's a cost now, and then there's a cost in how your children come up in the future. And there's a false demand in the marketplace, because now things like a whole industry of self-help for your children who are messed up now needs to be created, because you created a fake. I mean, the need is real, but it could have completely be avoided. So the altruistic cost is just being shuffled around and falsely created. And all that has absolute negative ramifications. So let me know your thoughts. This one's a little, like I said, we kind of talked about the wealth side earlier. I just wanted to talk about the specific game mechanic of pay to win, and how wherever you see a pay to win scenario, you're actually changing the rule set. So one person plays by these rules, but if you have a lot of money, you play by different rules, and it's no longer about the skill. It's no longer about merit. It's about, can you pay to win? All right. So thanks for joining me. I've got a few more talk tracks, and then at least we're gonna take a break on the Stacking Stupid. I think I have 2 more points I want to talk through. I may open it up. I may continue if people request stuff that I talk about. I have no problem. I might pivot and do some other content, but I think our Stacking Stupid, or at least my talk track for Arc 1, is coming to a close, where I've talked on the things that have get me fired up. I see that are being ignored. So thanks for anyone who's come this far. See you guys soon.